My name is Elexus Jionde. I'm the founder of Intellectual Media. I was a student at The Ohio State University where I studied history. I've always loved writing, but my love for nonfiction writing really came about during my sophomore year of college, and I became much more interested in exploring social justice and history, race, all of those topics after the death of Tamir Rice. And being in this union with Black OSU, and we had a huge prayer circle just a few steps away from where we're sitting right now. And it really changed my perspective and changed my life and what I wanted to do. So that was a big inspiration for me, writing and starting Intellectual Media. That because Intellectual Media is at an interesting point right now. It's been around for a year. I started it a year ago, and you're meeting me when I'm a year in, and in the future, there are so many things lined up for Intellectual Media. 2 Minute History is just a part of a larger collection of videos, essays, podcasts that I want to do in the future, things that make everybody realize that American history is complex, Black history is complex, it isn't studied the way it should be, and Black children especially don't have a grasp of it the way they should. And everything in Intellectual Media will be dealing with that, making sure everybody has a firmer understanding of our history, in addition to loving our history and understanding America's history. America wasn't always great. Has it ever been great? So yeah, I like to talk about things like that. So 2 Minute History is just one brick for this whole empire that I'm building. Intellectual Media is very, very tiny right now. And one day it's going to be comparable.
Definitely great. That's super, inspiring for a lot of, young women who are both interested in history and writing and journalism. For myself, I think it's a big parallel between, you hear all these things going on in the media, you hear about all these going on not only in the, around Columbus, but here on campus, and it's like, well, I have a passion for these kind of things and I want to write about these kind of things, but you're like, how do I do that in a way that's still professional and doesn't, kind of express your opinion and you can still look non-biased? So how do you go about doing that as well?
Nobody can do everything, but we can all do something. So I like to use my special brand of know-it-allness and being argumentative, and I like to be productive with it, and I want to bridge the gap between higher education and my community, and I want to do that by being myself and, just taking what I know and making it accessible to everybody else. And I don't pretend to be an expert on everything, but when I know something, I'm passionate about it. So
great. All right, great. So on the 15th anniversary of the 9/11 attack, that's when you made the tweet that went viral and really, kind of launched your multimedia career. Can you tell us a little bit about, the tweet, what made you tweet it, and what you were hoping to get across from that tweet?
Well, the whole thread actually, it was actually made before 9/11, and I had no idea that I was going to tweet it on 9/11. I just happened to see somebody say something that triggered me. I can't even remember the exact tweet, but I was like, you know what? There are a lot of things that have happened in this country that are just as tragic, if not more tragic, than that one event that happened 15 years ago. It really wasn't me trying to make a big hoopla on the anniversary of 9/11. It just happened to be like, I'm fed up today on 9/11, so y'all are going to get these facts. It was for everybody, anybody with an interest in our past as a country. There are things that you need to know, things you need to accept, and a lot of people like to act like racism ended completely after slavery, and that's the whole point of the thread. I was examining ways that racism didn't end after slavery, and I wanted people to grasp that Black oppression it was a systematic thing, not a one-time thing that just ended. We still face a lot of these struggles today, and I wanted people to be mindful of that when we have conversations, when we're talking about race.
How has social media shaped who you are and who you want to be and where you see yourself?
Well, I've been using social media for a long time. I used to be Ohio State Lexi when I first got to Ohio State, and I was known for going to parties and turning up and having a blog and speaking my mind and using really Twitter to get my point across. I wasn't always talking about things that mattered. So I've learned to use social media not as just a way to have fun, but to also make a difference, make an impact. Going back to what I said earlier about we can't all do everything, but we can all do something. And I like to use social media in a way that can help people learn. And that's what I love social media for. That's what I use it for. I don't know what everybody else is on with social media, but that's what I'm on.
Definitely. So do you think, as your popularity has grown, and I know you talked about how you've been using history classes with, little kids, you're kind of this role model now. How has that also kind of, altered how you portray yourself on social media?
It hasn't changed the way I approach social media. It's still a tool where I can express myself, but I've grown up, so I'm less likely to be the way I was a few years ago on social media. I was a lot more sexually explicit, but I'm still a grown woman with those sexually explicit feelings. They just don't come across as often because I'm using social media for my brand, and to make an impact, I know that the academic, intellectual stuff has to come first and has to be put to the forefront.
Say, as a woman in college, this is kind of a very transitioning time when you're kind of figuring out who you are, what you want to do, and when you kind of get out into the world, you kind of see these stereotypes about women. You need to be this way, you need to be that way. And I think over the past few years it's gotten better. But where would you want to see, especially African American women, how we are portrayed just in media in general?
It definitely has changed. You can be more than just one thing, and I remember a few years ago, I felt like I had to make a choice. Mm-hmm. I was at a party in Brooklyn, and it was just a whole bunch of celebrities, and it was really like we weren't having any intellectual conversations. I was really bored with the whole thing, and I had an epiphany where I just realized that wasn't what I wanted to do anymore. I still enjoyed like the branding side and the creative side, but the sitting around just not doing anything, it really wasn't part of me. There are people who sit around and do nothing when it comes to like helping their community or educating their peers or conversing with their peers. They'll get mad at me because I decide I want to take a few nude pictures or I want to be sexy, but it's like, why can't I be both sexy and help my community? How dare you not help your community in any way and then try to come for me? I just feel like Black women especially, do what makes you happy, and again, do something. You can do something to help your community, and you can do it in your own way. So
yeah, definitely. So what would you say is your favorite thing about what you do? You wake up every day, you work for yourself, basically, what's your favorite thing about your day?
Okay, not my favorite thing about my day, but my favorite thing about my job is basically like creating content, like deciding what I'm going to talk about, what video I'm going to do when I'm researching and studying, because that's half of my job is making sure that I'm up on stuff, that I'm learning new things that I can pass along. So making a list, a master list of content. And this is something that I used to do back when I was blogging as Ohio State Lexi, like make a list of all sorts of crazy topics that people would love, and I love having a master list, and I love highlighting it and editing it and adding to it. That's my favorite part, is staying creative, making sure that people have something to engage with, enjoy, learn from, share.
Definitely. So what can we expect from intellectual media just in like the next coming months, or maybe where you think you're going to be this time next year?
Okay. Last year, if you would have asked me, did I see myself speaking at my alma mater in a year, I would have been like, no, maybe 2 years. So things are moving pretty fast. In a few months, intellectual media will have more books published, intellectual media history kits for preteens, definitely. And I want to be speaking to more preteens in my community. That's been one of the most fulfilling aspects of my job thus far, is speaking with underprivileged youth from my neighborhood, letting them know that their possibilities are there, and also encouraging people around them to invest in the youth. That's what's up next for intellectual media, is enriching, bettering, helping the Black community. And me, myself, writing more books and hopefully going to a beach somewhere on vacation.
So your book, here, Angry Black Girl, just tell us what it is about. Just give us a little synopsis of what it is.
Well, it is a collection of essays on race, gender, America, sexuality, each with a historical spin, except for a few of them. Most of them have a historical spin on them, but to me, they're amazing. It gives insight into the life of a Black woman. I don't speak for all Black women. I speak for this Black woman, and I think my insight is important, just like I think any other Black woman's insight is important.
I see you titled it Angry Black Girl instead of Angry Black Woman. You know, that's usually the term that's used against Black women. Why did you use the word girl instead of woman?
Because I explain in the book that it was a younger part of myself that I was trying to please when I made this title. It's a piece of me from the inside who's surviving years and years of microaggressions and racism. It's this girl who doesn't want to be called angry or bitter by white people or Black men. There's still this small girl in me who wants to be liked, who wants to not be the bitter one, who's always complaining. But there's a larger part of me, and that's the adult, the one who's not afraid to speak her mind. She's pissed and she's angry, and she's legitimately so about things in our country, and that's what I'm explaining in this book. I explain more in the intro why it's called Angry Black Girl. So.
Great. So you're going to have to read to find out more.
Last year, I realized that when I uploaded videos to Twitter that it would cut off at 2 minutes and 20 seconds. So I began formatting my scripts for 2 minutes and 20 seconds, and I called them 2-minute history videos. They were really low production, shot in front of my iMac. Poor lighting, horrible sound, but people loved them. They were getting thousands of retweets, and they loved the content so much they didn't care that the quality was horrible. So Black and Sexy TV reached out to me, and now they stream exclusively on Black and Sexy TV. Great production, amazing quality, and I'm excited that I'm associated with them. They're a great channel. Issa Rae used to work with them. They've worked with BET, so I'm very proud to have 2-minute histories broadcasted on Black and Sexy TV.
So I know you said that you really want to focus on history now. That was what you focused on when you're here at Ohio State. What can you tell undergraduate students here at Ohio State, especially African-American women, who not only have the love for history, but just kind of have a love for writing or for multimedia? What kind of piece of advice can you give them going out into, the real world?
Even if you think you're not ready, treat every single thing that you're doing as a step towards being ready, a step towards what you want. I've been blogging since I was a junior in high school. I first had a blog for Jared Sullinger, who, for you young heads, he used to be a basketball player here, and I had a blog for him, and I would check on it daily. It was consistent work. I didn't get really a lot of views or anything, but it was important to me to treat it as like an important phase in my career. And ever since then, every single thing I've done has been a phase in my career or a moment in my career to learn from. Even when Ohio State sent me a cease and desist letter for being Ohio State Lexi, like I knew it was coming, and I knew that I needed to rebrand. I treated it as a step in the next direction, in a step towards what I wanted. So that's my advice to you ladies, is to just treat everything as an important part of your evolution in what you want.
Yes. How did Ohio State shape not only your education and what you do now, but the woman that you are now?
Well, Ohio State was out of reach for me. It was always my dream school since 8th grade, but it was roughly $42,000 a year for me to go here. But it was a premium education. Like, I learned a lot, and I got everything that I was supposed to get here. And because of that education I got, I knew that it was worthy. Everybody else needed this same type of education, and that's what kind of helped me into the person I am today, the person who wants to make higher education accessible to others. So Ohio State really made me realize that I can bridge the gap between higher education and community using things I learned here, the research skills I learned here, and critical thinking skills I picked up, all of that.
Perfect. I think that's all I got for you. Do you have anything that you want to say, last kind of words, any kind of tokens of information that you wanted to give out? Okay.
If you want, if you want free history lessons, unflattering clinics on American racism, all of that, you can head over to intellectual.co. My brand is Intellectual Media. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. I'm Intellectual Media, INTELEXUAL Media.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks so much for having me.